And you've been watching that special hearing in the Texas State Senate on the deadly school shooting in Uvalde. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm KYRA Phillips. So glad you're streaming with us today. Two hearings actually taking place in Texas, examining the controversial and chaotic police response to that deadly Uvalde, Texas school shooting that took place nearly a month ago now. In that Senate hearing, a moment of silence for the lives lost in that horrific shooting, and lawmakers wasted little time laying into law enforcement who have presented shifting narratives on how they reacted and responded to the massacre in the ensuing days and weeks.
I have never seen in my entire public policy career facts that change 180 degrees from one week to the next.
Parents of victims and community members who continue to demand that the school district police chief resign immediately. For more on these hearings, ABC News senior investigative reporter Eric Kontursky, also former chief of detectives for the NYPD, Robert Boyce, joining me now, both of whom have been following the hearings along with us. Aaron, let's start with you. Harsh condemnation, no surprise, of the local police response to the Uvalde shooting. It also came from Texas Director of Public Safety, Stephen McCraw. We heard from him. Let's hear what he had to say moments ago.
Way of dedicated officers from in room 111 and 112 was the on-scene commander who decided to place the lives of officers before the lives of children. The officers had weapons, the children had none. The officers had body armor, the children had none. The officers had training, the subject had none.
What do we learn? How does this differ from what we've heard already regarding this botched response?
KYRA, this was a stunning condemnation of the on-scene commander, the Uvalde Combined Independent School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo, from the colonel of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Stephen McCraw. McCraw criticized the decisions that Arredondo made that day as terrible, and he said they likely cost the lives of children because he understood that this was a contained subject. At least that's what he communicated in a phone call with a dispatcher that McCraw quoted, when in fact McCraw said this was nothing but an active shooter scenario. And he said that some officers may well have gotten hurt or even killed had they rushed into the classroom to confront the shooter as their training dictated, but he said they would have had a better shot against that shooter than the unarmed and unprotected children. This stunning condemnation led McCraw to call the law enforcement response to the Uvalde shooting an abject failure.
And Bob, something else McCraw did say this time about how long it took for police officers to actually intervene. Let's take a listen.
14 minutes and 8 seconds. That's how long the children waited and the teachers waited in rooms 111 to be rescued. And while they waited, the on-scene commander waited for a radio and rifles. Then he waited for shields. Then he waited for SWAT. Lastly, he waited for a key that was never needed.
Wow, 14 minutes. It just... to think of everything that could have happened within that time. And then you look at the diagram, Bob, of the movements, not just of the suspect in red, but also the police officers in blue. I don't know if we have an image of that or not. There we go. Let's talk about what this actually told us today. What did it tell you, Bob?
Well, it told us exactly the failure of Chief Arredondo to recognize this for what it was actually a shooter. And he developed a perimeter and around that door that didn't need a key, clearly stated by Mr. McCraw that they could have went in there at any point and ended this, and they did not. So he is in direct violation of the protocol of immediate entry and neutralize the threat. And he set up a perimeter, exactly what they did in Columbine, which is we found that would be wrong. So, but one of my thoughts are here is, why was Arredondo in charge at any time? During this thing, he was in charge of a police department of 6 people. Uvalde police chief should have taken control of that point and breached that door. Clearly went in and done it. But you look at the physical security, the failure there, leadership failure there, training, communications, they're everywhere. So it's just not Arredondo, although he could find himself arrested for this, but there's others as well.
Bob, just to put in perspective, when you hear 14 minutes, from your experience, you know how quickly law enforcement, paramedics, whomever, you could have saved so many lives. I mean, when you heard that amount of time, what were you thinking could have happened quickly within those 14 minutes? Not only taking out the shooter, but how it's possible that many more lives could have been saved.
KYRA, speed is imperative here. You have to go in immediately, and you can't stop because you're getting shot at. You have a window with access as well. That was brought up. There's so many things that could have been curtailed in the first couple of minutes. Within the first 5 minutes, this could have ended immediately. Not only to stop this shooter, but to render aid to those children as well who were shot. So this fails on so many levels that it's tough to discuss in any kind of short time frame. I've seen this, unfortunately, in Parkland, Florida, same type of situation, non-entry, and it costs lives. So these are the two failures since Columbine, the two most dramatic ones that I've seen. And hopefully we'll see some change after this. Again, codify this, making sure that all people know exactly what you need to do.
And Bob, real quickly, a technical question, and then Aaron, I've got a question for you. We also learned that one of the officers apparently had a shot to take where he could have taken that shooter out, but said he was afraid of hurting other students. Is that a legitimate argument?
So sure it is, but you get a green light when you something like that, when you have to take your target out. I understand that. We're not in his position. We're not in his optics. He's looking into a site and he says he can't do it. So that has to be further examined. But you know, at some point you have to end this, and that has to get through communications that, you know, if you have a shot, you take it. And then I don't know if that was clear enough of him, but if he's saying that he couldn't because of child, it's understandable. Now, at some point you wait and you take your shot when that doesn't happen. So these things have to, you know, we can all talk about it in the aftermath, but that person is in real time making that decision. It has to be respected at some level.
Got it. And Aaron, parents of the victims, members of the community, they continue to call for the school district police chief's resignation. Do you think after hearing what we've heard so far that will happen?
We've heard no confirmed information from the school district because, KYRA, they continue to say they're not allowed to comment because of the ongoing criminal investigation by the district attorney's office. We're not sure that holds water now after hearing the testimony today or not. Tonight, we understand that the Uvalde City Council, to which Arredondo was recently elected, is going to consider putting him on what would amount to a leave of absence during the duration of this investigation. But the families have had as hard a time as we have in getting answers. And this is really the first time since the immediate aftermath of the shooting that they've been able to get any accounting of what went on. The families have been camped in City Hall, where a number of other hearings have taken place. The fire marshal removed the families from City Hall during one of the hearings because the fire marshal said some of the witnesses felt intimidated. And we should say that Arredondo, even though he is not testifying at this particular hearing where his decision-making has been condemned by the Texas Department of Public Safety, he's in the very other side of the building at the Texas State Capitol testifying in private before the Texas House. So other than an interview with a local news outlet in which Arredondo said that he wanted to rush in but believed he needed to wait for shields and other heavy equipment, we haven't heard much from Arredondo, especially with this recent condemnation citing his abject failure to make the proper decisions.
Bob, the point of shields, is that, looking at what went down, how it went down, how quickly it went down, waiting for shields, does that make sense to you?
Not in an active shooter protocol. If you talk about a hostage situation, then yes, it would be. But that's not what happened here. McGraw clearly stated it was never at any point a hostage barricaded situation. So that was thrown out by the director McGraw. So you don't wait for shields, you go in. That's the protocol. It's kind of simple in going through it. You have to do that. Now, if something evolves into a hostage thing, that's a different story. But McGraw said that didn't happen. They should have went in immediately. At any point, they didn't try the door. Now, there's plenty of mistakes here that are past Arredondo, but the key here is not immediate entry.
Yeah, and the key here at the end of the day is trying to make sure, or making damn sure, it never happens again. Aaron Katursky, Bob Boyes, thank you gentlemen so much.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.